for the end has come. Are you ready?
The world as we have always known it stands at a precipice. There is a feeling in the air, a subtle shift in the currents of time. Many sense that an old chapter is closing. A vast, concluding era is drawing near. Humanity approaches a threshold, unlike any before. The familiar rhythms of life seem to pause. An unspoken anticipation hangs heavy. The very ground beneath our feet feels less certain, charged with an unknown future that is fast approaching. The signs are present, for those who choose to see. They are not always loud, not always obvious to the casual eye. Yet they are woven into the fabric of our days. Perhaps it is in the changing patterns of nature, or in the restless spirit of humanity. Ancient words spoken by seers long ago echo with new relevance. These whispers from the past speak of a great turning point. The established order, once thought so permanent, now reveals its inherent fragility. This is not merely another cycle of history repeating itself, it is something far more profound. This is the culmination, the climax of a story written across millennia. The final days, spoken of in hushed tones, are unfolding before us. The weight of this moment is immense. The foundations of civilizations, of belief systems, even of the earth itself, begin to tremble. We are living in times of unprecedented significance, a period that will redefine existence. The atmosphere is charged with dramatic change. The very elements seem to reflect this transition. The winds carry messages of upheaval. The skies themselves appear to watch, holding their breath for what is to come. Judgments are on the horizon, powerful and transformative. These are not small corrections, but vast, sweeping events that will alter the course of everything. An age of profound transformation is dawning, promising to reshape our world in ways we can barely imagine. Amidst the encroaching shadows of uncertainty, a distinct light begins to emerge. This light emanates from the righteous, the chosen, the elect of Father Yah. They are being summoned from the quiet corners of the earth. A divine call resonates within their spirits, preparing them for a destiny meticulously foretold in ancient scriptures. Their time, long anticipated by prophets and seers, is now rapidly approaching. They are awakening to their purpose in these final moments of the current age. Who are these individuals marked as righteous in such critical times? They are not defined by worldly status or fleeting power. Instead, they are those who have clung steadfastly to truth. They are the souls who listened intently to a higher, divine calling. In a world increasingly drifting from its spiritual anchor, they remained unwavering. Guided by an ancient wisdom often dismissed by the masses, they preserved their faith. Their commitment to the sacred word, to Yahuah, sets them apart. Their ascent is not initially one of earthly dominion or visible might. It is first and foremost a profound spiritual awakening, a strengthening of the inner self, forged in quiet devotion and unwavering belief. This quiet yet powerful resilience will soon become a beacon of hope, a guiding light for others lost in the growing confusion. They stand apart, distinguished not by crowns or scepters, but by their unwavering devotion to the path laid out by the Creator, Yahuah. They are given a divine assurance. Do not fear. This is a promise of unwavering guidance through the tumultuous storms that are to come. While chaos and terror may engulf those unprepared, those who never believed, the steadfast will find their path illuminated. Their faith, deeply rooted and unshakable, will serve as their shield against the encroaching darkness. It will be their compass guiding them through the perils of a world undergoing its final intense trial. The stage is now meticulously set for the grand finale of ages. The final days are not just approaching, they are dawning upon us. The righteous, the elect of Yah, are being awakened and prepared for their pivotal role. A great sorting, a divine separation, is about to occur across the globe. The world as a whole teeters precariously on the very edge of this profound transformation. A divine reckoning, long prophesied, approaches with undeniable certainty, ready to unfold its power. This impending period will be characterized by the most stark and dramatic contrasts imaginable. We will witness the zenith of darkness battling the purest light. Utter despair will exist alongside unshakable hope. The seemingly invincible fall of the mighty empires will occur, juxtaposed with the quiet exaltation of the humble and faithful. Great systems of governance and finance, long considered infallible, will begin to crumble. Ancient earthly powers, including the symbolic eagle, will face their ultimate and inescapable judgment. This account will delve deep into the specifics of these ancient prophecies. We will explore the foretold judgment upon entities like the harlot Babylon, a representation of worldly corruption and power, the trials that await nations, and the specific dire warnings that were given to humanity will be laid bare. Crucially, we will also illuminate the path of deliverance, the divine rescue plan meticulously prepared for the faithful few who held to the truth of Yah. The eagle among nations, a symbol of great might, will face its accounting. Prepare yourselves to journey through these profound and often unsettling revelations. It is time to understand the signs of the times, to discern their meaning. We will witness the methodical unfolding of events that were foretold with astonishing accuracy. The narrative of these last days is undeniably a story of widespread judgment upon a world consumed by wickedness. However, woven through this tapestry of turmoil, it is also, ultimately, a story of divine intervention and the glorious redemption awaiting the chosen, Yisrael and Yehudah. The prophetic foundations of these last days are not newly laid stones. They are ancient, deeply rooted in divine utterances from millennia past. These prophecies speak of covenants, of chosen lineages, and of destinies foretold with unwavering clarity. Father Yah, in his infinite wisdom, laid out a path for his people, Yisrael. This path included trials, tribulations, and ultimately, triumphant redemption. Understanding these foundational prophecies is crucial to comprehending the unfolding events of our current critical era. The words spoken long ago now echo with profound and immediate significance for us. Central to these ancient warnings is the mention of the lands of Esau. These are not merely geographical locations, but symbolic representations of earthly powers. These nations are often depicted as eagles, soaring with pride and earthly dominion across the globe. The scriptures forewarned that these lands, these dominant forces, would be characterized by a profound disbelief. They would turn away from the pure truth of Yah. They would reject his divine word, embodied in Yeshua. This rejection was not a mere oversight, it was a deliberate choice, a path chosen that would have dire consequences. This prophetic knowledge extended to the fate of Yah's chosen people. Father Yah knew with absolute certainty that his elect would find themselves ensnared within these lands of Esau. He understood that because of the prevailing disbelief and the turning away from divine law, his people would suffer. They would be subjected to oppression and hardship. This foreknowledge was a heavy burden, yet it was part of a larger, intricate divine plan. The suffering was foreseen, not as a failure of protection, but as a permitted phase leading to a greater purpose. Therefore, the righteous, the holy ones, were explicitly told not to fear these developments. This instruction was given because the entire sequence was already known to the Creator. The lands of Esau, the eagles of the earth, would indeed stray. They would embrace wickedness, and this evil would spread like a contagion. It would terrorize them and all who chose not to believe in the divine truth. This understanding provides a stark context for the trials that were destined to unfold, a prelude to the great sifting of souls. One of the most poignant prophecies concerns a prolonged period of exile and suffering. This divine forewarning was revealed to Abraham, the patriarch of the chosen. It outlined a future of immense trial for his descendants. They would be sojourners in a land not their own, enslaved and afflicted for 400 years. This period was a test, a refinement, leading to ultimate redemption. The prophetic timeline, specifying 400 years of exile and oppression, finds fulfillment between 1619 and 2019 AD. 1619 marks the entry into prophesied bondage, and 2019 signals its end. This alignment of events with prophecy is a testament to the divine plan. The chosen people, Yisrael and Yehudah, were where scriptures foretold. As the 400-year period concluded, Ezekiel's prophecy of the dry bones began to manifest. This spiritual awakening started around 2017. It marked a shift in spiritual dynamics, signaling the end of oppression. The scriptures speak of a powerful entity, Babylon the Great. She embodies worldly corruption and spiritual infidelity. For ages, she has influenced nations and peoples. Her reign is nearing its end. A new, righteous order is coming. The judgment decreed upon Babylon, the great eagle nation, will be thorough and devastating. Instead, it will be a process, a gradual yet relentless unraveling of its power and prestige. The proud eagle, once soaring confidently in the heights, will find its wings clipped, its flight becoming erratic and doomed. This severe judgment is not arbitrary, nor is it without profound cause. It stems directly and unequivocally from a deep-seated rejection, a rejection of Father Yah, his divine truth, and his manifested word, Yeshua. The lands of Esau, epitomized by this symbolic eagle, consciously chose the path of disbelief. They constructed their societies upon principles contrary to divine instruction. The initial manifestations of this divine judgment will become increasingly apparent. The nations of the earth, which once looked upon the eagle with awe and envy, will witness its decline with shock. As the judgment upon Babylon, the great eagle, intensifies and its structures weaken, a terrifying phenomenon will occur. A pervasive and potent evil will be unleashed upon the earth. This evil finds fertile ground in the spiritual vacuum created by widespread disbelief and the rejection of divine truth. This escalating scourge of evil will bring a specific and horrifying terror to the unbelievers. Those individuals who deliberately turned away from the truth of Father Yah, those who place their entire faith and hope in the failing corrupt systems of Babylon, will find themselves utterly exposed. Fear, raw and unrelenting, will become their constant companion. The ancient prophecies are stark and unwavering in their pronouncements regarding this time. It is foretold that those who never truly believed, those who willingly embraced the deceptions and practices of the harlot system, shall ultimately perish. The divine protection, the sheltering wings of the Most High, are reserved for the faithful, not for those who scorned his call to repentance and righteousness. Judgment will come through many forms, by the sword, by consuming fire, and by unseen terrors that prey upon the soul. The grand tapestry of prophecy reveals specific, measured timelines. One such critical period is clearly defined. It spans 400 years. The years 1619 to 2019 AD mark this significant era. This was the long season of exile and deep affliction for the chosen. This was the time they would spend as sojourners, oppressed on a continent not their own. The beginning of this period saw them brought in chains. The end would see them poised for a great shift. This extended duration of suffering was directly prophesied to Abraham. His descendants would be enslaved. They would be oppressed. Section 2, The Valley Awakens, a Stirring of Spirit. A profound spiritual event commenced as this 400-year period neared its absolute end. Around the year 2017, a stirring began. This was the prophesied awakening of Ezekiel's field of dead, dried bones. This was not a literal rising from graves of earth. It was a spiritual resurrection, a regathering of identity and purpose among the chosen people. Those who had been scattered, whose hope had seemed lost like dry bones in a desolate valley, began to hear a divine call. A new breath, a new spirit was entering them, preparing them for what was to come. This awakening was a clear and undeniable sign. It signaled that the time of their desolation was drawing to a close. Section 1. The Earth Groans. Nature's fury unleashed. The very earth will begin to convulse under the weight of impending judgment. A great devastation is coming, a fury born of divine wrath. Father Yahuah himself will unleash this power. Fire proceeds from his mouth. Storms churn within his belly. These are not mere metaphors, but terrifying realities. The initial signs will be unmistakable. Nature itself will become an instrument of correction, a herald of the changes to sweep across the globe. The world will feel the first tremors of an ancient anger, long held in check but now released. Section 2. The Crumbling Order, Famine, Sickness, and Societal Collapse. As the fields fail and harvests cease, a grim specter will rise. Famine will begin to stalk the lands. This is the inevitable outcome of agricultural ruin. The storehouses will empty, the supply chains will break. Widespread hunger will grip cities and countryside alike. Children will cry for bread that is not there. The strong will grow weak. The abundance that once characterized nations like Babylon the Great will vanish. A desperate search for sustenance will consume daily life for millions. Then a new horror will be unleashed upon the earth. The four winds, held in check by angelic restraint, will be released. They will blow with their full, unmitigated force. This will signal an even greater escalation of calamity. A new dimension of divine judgment will unfold. The destructive power will be immense, indiscriminate. No corner of the earth will be shielded from their passage. These are not ordinary winds, but agents of Yahuah's righteous fury. Their release marks a point of no return in the unfolding devastation. A great and terrible heat storm will sweep across the globe. The world, already reeling from famine and plague, now hears new sounds. The distant, ominous drumming of war grows louder with each passing day. Nations, consumed by fear and desperation, eye each other with suspicion. Old grievances fester, ready to ignite like dry tinder. The fragile peace shatters into irreparable pieces. The path to global conflict is paved by widespread chaos. Humanity stands on the brink of catastrophic conflict. The air crackles with the tension of impending battle. This is the final descent into organized violence. This war carries a profound divine context, a terrible reckoning. Vengeance for Yasher-El, his chosen people, is woven into this conflict. The accumulated wickedness of the nations has reached its zenith. It has polluted the earth, crying out for cleansing. The anguished cries of the innocent demand justice. Father Yahuah's patience has reached its limit. The coming battles will serve as a fiery, purifying crucible. The wicked will face the consequences of their cruelty. From the east, a formidable threat emerges. It targets America, identified as the Great Harlot. Iran and Lebanon, fueled by ancient animosities, will launch their assault. Their forces will advance with chilling determination. They aim to strike at the heart of symbolic Babylon. Fear will grip the entire land. As invaders make their presence known, the Great Eagle's invincibility will be challenged. Its shores will witness the arrival of hostile armies. Iran and Lebanon will not be the sole instigators. Other nations will join the fray seeking spoils. They will infiltrate America from various directions, advancing like predatory wolves, sensing a wounded beast. These incursions will stretch the Great Eagle's defenses thin. Its resources will be overwhelmed by relentless attacks. The land of plenty will become a desperate battleground. It becomes a chaotic battleground for competing powers. As if the terrifying onslaught of external invasions were not sufficiently devastating, a deeper, more insidious rot will simultaneously manifest itself from within the nation. An enemy lurking within the very fabric of America will reveal its treacherous face. This internal adversary, having festered quietly in the shadows for many years, will strategically seize this opportune moment of widespread chaos and vulnerability. Discontent, which had long been simmering just beneath the surface of society, will suddenly boil over into open, violent rebellion against the established order. Secret factions, perhaps embedded within its own trusted institutions and military, will rise up in defiance, seeking to overthrow the existing governmental structures. The nation, already battered and reeling from without, will begin to tear itself apart. This dangerous internal conflict will then escalate with alarming and uncontrollable rapidity. It will transform into a full-blown, organized military insurgency against the state. Armed elements, possibly comprising disillusioned factions of its own formidable armed forces, will shockingly turn their weapons and their training against their former leaders. The presidents and all those who symbolize governmental authority and national stability will find themselves as primary targets of this violent and determined uprising. The established chain of command, once sacrosanct, will completely shatter into disarray. Loyalty will become a forgotten, archaic word as brother tragically turns against brother. The capital city itself may descend into a brutal war zone, its streets filled with conflict. The seat of power becomes paralyzed, undermined by this devastating internal conflict. The deadly combination of these relentless foreign invasions from multiple shores, compounded by this crippling internal military insurgency tearing the nation asunder, signals the undeniable and terrifying start of the prophesied World War III. This is no longer a contained regional conflict or a series of isolated skirmishes. It is a truly global conflagration, engulfing nations far and wide. The term Armageddon, once dismissed by many as a distant biblical concept, will suddenly become a terrifyingly present and unavoidable reality for all humankind. Nations across the entire world will inevitably be drawn into this swirling vortex of violence. Alliances will shift unpredictably like desert sands, and the whole planet will become a battlefield. The final great war, the one prophesied to precede the ultimate end of this age, has begun. This catastrophic global war will be characterized by unprecedented levels of brutality. The devastation inflicted will be unlike anything ever witnessed in human history. It serves as the divine mechanism for punishing the wicked across the entire globe. The fearsome weapons of man, the gun, the sword, and terrible consuming fire will be unleashed with horrific, indiscriminate efficiency upon populations everywhere. Great cities, once centers of culture and commerce, will be reduced to smoldering infernos. Vast landscapes will be scarred beyond any hope of recognition or recovery. Men will be consumed by raging fire, their bodies burnt like mere haystacks. The sheer scale of death and destruction will be utterly unimaginable to those who endure it. This is the ultimate judgment executed through the terrible might of warfare. The many escalating conflicts, both internal and external, now inevitably converge. They culminate in the long-prophesied, dreaded Battle of Armageddon. This is the ultimate, decisive confrontation between good and evil on a global scale. It marks the terrible climax of centuries of human rebellion against divine law. A cataclysmic showdown consumes the world, a world ripe for judgment. The four winds of heaven, long held in check by angelic power, will finally be released. They are elemental furies, agents of divine wrath, unleashed upon a condemned world. They will sweep relentlessly across the face of the earth, adding to the chaos. The skies above will transform into a terrifying canvas of raw, untamed power. Civilization as it was constructed collapses into dust and smoldering ruins. The world lies scarred, a testament to the judgments foretold. Babylon the Great, the arrogant eagle, has fallen into utter ruin. Her once proud cities are now desolate heaps, her immense power utterly broken. The terrible fury of Armageddon has swept across all the nations like a consuming fire. Famine, widespread plague, and terrifying, unprecedented storms have cleansed the earth. This cleansing was achieved with a brutal yet divinely ordained efficiency. The old world order, meticulously built on foundations of pervasive wickedness and open rebellion, is no more. It has been completely and irrevocably dismantled, piece by painstaking, agonizing piece. This devastating path was the necessary crucible, burning away all the accumulated dross. A profound, echoing silence now hangs heavily over the broken remnants of a shattered age. Yet, amidst this almost unimaginable and widespread desolation, a divine promise stirs. Yahuah, whose righteous wrath poured forth like a cleansing, unstoppable torrent upon the ungodly, now turns his compassionate gaze towards his chosen people, his long-suffering elect. The prophesied time for their ultimate and glorious redemption has finally, thankfully, arrived. Yasharel and Yehudah, awakened from the dust of their long and bitter exile, were meticulously preserved through the raging fires of tribulation by an unseen guiding hand. They are now called forth from the smoldering ruins of the nations where they were scattered. His mighty voice, which once commanded the devastating storms, now speaks peace to their weary souls. The sacred vow made to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob stands eternally unbroken. This is the foretold hour of their divine gathering, the magnificent culmination of centuries of unwavering hope. The rescue enacted by Father Yah is one of magnificent, undeniable power and glory. It is not merely a physical deliverance from immediate earthly peril and profound suffering. It is a deep spiritual restoration, a divine healing of the most grievous wounds. The survivors, the small faithful remnant, are brought into a new covenant reality. The dark, suffocating fog of confusion and abject terror begins to lift, slowly but surely. In its place, the brilliant, piercing light of an entirely new era starts to dawn. This world, miraculously reborn from the purifying ashes of judgment and divine fire, will be governed by true righteousness, by unwavering justice, and by sacred divine law. The old, corrupt ways of deceit and exploitation have been thoroughly purged. Thus, the ancient, revered prophecies find their ultimate and complete fulfillment before all. Every single word spoken by the inspired seers of old has come to pass with breathtaking precision. The judgment upon the wicked nations was indeed severe, yet it was wholly just and absolutely necessary. The immense suffering endured by the righteous was a refining fire, a profound test of faith. Now, the painful repeating cycles of history under the oppressive sway of darkness are finally concluded. The chosen ones, the children of Yasharel and Yehudah, step forth to inherit this renewed earth. They will live under the direct and benevolent reign of Yahuah himself for all time. No longer will they be subject to the cruel whims of earthly tyrants or powerless false idols. The preceding devastation has meticulously paved the way for an age of unparalleled peace and truth. Yahuah's everlasting kingdom is established, a steadfast beacon of hope for eternity for his people.
If you enjoyed that word, hit that like button and subscribe. God bless.